Money, money, money. Lahat tayo gusto natin ng pera for different reasons. Like to fund for our own necessities, like internet, water, electricity, food, and even lugaw. Kasi lugaw is essential. And gusto rin natin ng pera to explore the world, like travel, shopping, and sometimes you also need money to reach certain dreams, like to buy your own house, buy a car, fund for your child's education, or even reach certain financial goals. Good morning, AXA. I'm Tin Militante, Advisor Transformation Manager from DLND. Welcome to our brand new segment, Wealth Wednesdays. In the past seasons, we've been discussing about investments in Investment News Live. We've been navigating the markets and also looking for viable investments. For now, mag-focus muna tayo sa root of it all, money. In this brand new segment, we will level up your game as a financial advisor by equipping you with finance knowledge and also navigating through the biggest market trends. In this very first episode of Wealth Wednesdays, pag-usapan natin ang mga means kung paano kumita ng pera at pati na rin kung saan napupunta ang ating mga pera. Magbibigay tayo ng tips as to how to manage one's finances. Bilang isang financial advisor, we have to walk the talk. Yes, we want to help our customers with their financial goals. But in order to help others, we must first learn to help ourselves. Saan ba tayo nakakuha ng pera? Pwedeng napupulot sa daan. Or pwedeng manalo sa loto. Sa mga ninong at ninang. Mano po, ninong! Mano po, ninang! Uy, salamat po sa ampaw. Saan pa ba? Sa mga racket. Uy, bili-bili na dyan. Bili po kayo. Bili po kayo. Or, sa trabaho natin. Pero asa ka pa naman na makakuha ka ng pera sa daan. Or manalo ka sa loto. 1 in a million chance kaya yun. Sa mga ninong at ninang, well, nako, ikaw na ang ninong or ang ninang ngayon. Diba? Ang dami mo ng mga pamangkin. Hay, adulting na tayo. Kaya, kailangan kumayod para magkapera. So, sa mga empleyado tulad ko, nakakatanggap tayo ng regular salary. May iba naman, contractual basis ang kanilang trabaho. Kaya, nakakatanggap sila ng pera tuwing may project. One example nito ay yung ating mga freelancers tulad ng mga fashion designers, event planners, at ang ating mga distributors from agency. Yung iba naman, entrepreneurs. Mga nagbebenta ng mga goods, mga pencil, ballpen, damit, sapatos, mga car parts. Yung iba, service naman ang ino-offer nila. Mga tutorial services, mga catering services, hairstyling, pest control services, at iba pa. Kapag nakakatanggap ka ng pera dahil nag-offer ka ng service or nagbenta ka ng goods, ang tawag dito ay income. Some people have only one source of income. Kung kunyari, full-time employee ka at wala kang ibang racket, then it means nakadepende yung inflow or pagpasok ng pera sa kaisa-isang trabaho mo. Is this good? Is this bad? Well, in itself, it's not bad. The fact na may trabaho ka is actually a blessing in itself. The advantage of having multiple sources of income would be, in case na mawala ang isa sa kanila, meron ka pa ring pagkukuhaan ng pera. Pero syempre, sa buhay, hindi naman pwedeng tanggap ka lang ng tanggap. Kahit gaano kakonti or kadami pa ang pera mo or ang income mo, gagastos at gagastos ka rin. Hindi ba pwedeng walang gastusin? Hindi. Kasi kailangan natin ng damit, ng pangligo, ng matutulugan, ng tubig, ng pagkain para mabuhay. At lahat ng ito may presyo. Gastos. In English, expenses. Yung mga pinagagastusan or mga binabayaran para makabili ng goods or maka-avail ng services. Expenses lahat ang tawag dyan. Ito ang examples ng expenses. Tubig, pagkain, electricity, kape, internet bill, vitamins, gluta para sa mga nagpapaputi, insurance premiums, credit card bills, rent, transportation, lahat ng bills, lahat yan expenses. Masama ba na magkaroon ng expenses? Hindi. Masama ba mag-shopping? Hindi rin. Pero madalas, tinitignan natin ang expenses bilang negative or masama. Sa totoo lang, expenses are part of life. If we want to live, to experience life, we really need to spend. How we spend and what we spend on, of course, is a different conversation. Different people have different lifestyles. Some people live simply. Some people want more bling-bling and love expensive things. Okay lang pareho yan. Your life, your choice. Pero, ang importante ay marunong tayo mag-manage ng ating expenses. Which brings me to my point. Income minus expenses equals surplus or deficit. In other words, mga kinikitang pera minus mga pinagagastusan equals sa sobra or kulang na pera. Ideally, we all want to have surplus. Mas gusto natin yung labis kesa kulang, di ba? Pero, hindi parati ganun kadali. One trick is to employ this strategy, which is what we teach or mention sa ating FNA. Income minus savings equals expenses. In other words, mga kinitang pera minus mga tinabing pera equals mga paggagastusan. Savings. Big word. Isa sa mga bagay that most of us want but do not necessarily work on. Tulad ng ibang pangarap na gusto lang natin pero hindi natin ine-effortan. For example, may iba sa atin na gusto mag-lose ng weight pero hindi naman nag-exercise, hindi naman nagda-diet. Ganon din pagdating sa savings. If we want to have healthy finances, we need to act on it. By applying this formula that I mentioned, mapipilitan tayo mag-set aside ng pera for our benefit in the long run. Bakit importante ang savings? Oo, may source of income ka, kaya may pagkukunan ka ng gastusin. Pero, paano kung wala? Let's say, mawalan ka ng trabaho or magkasakit, wag naman sana, pero paano na? Paano kung biglang nagkaroon ng emergency at kinailangan mong gumastos ng malaki? Also, hindi lang naman tayo nabubuhay para sa ngayon. Iniisip na natin kung anong gusto nating buhay in the future. Gusto ba natin tumira sa mas malaking bahay? Gusto ba natin magkaroon ng anak? Paaralin ba natin ang mga anak sa mga magandang eskwelahan? Gusto ba natin mag-travel? Kung walang savings, saan kukunin ang pondo para sa mga to? Hindi mo kailangan maging magaling sa math para magkaroon ng healthy finances. With the tips and tricks that I'll be sharing, for sure you'll be on your way to becoming wealthy. Tip number 1. Before making any big financial decision, first make sure that you have an emergency fund. An emergency fund is a portion of your money that you set aside in case of unexpected events. Experts say that your emergency fund should be at least 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. Kumbaga, 3 to 6 months worth ng mga essential expenses mo. Mga pagkain, electricity, water. Now, just in case mawalan ka ng source of income, how long can your emergency fund sustain you? Although 3 to 6 months ang usual recommendation ng ating experts, you also have the freedom to expand your emergency fund, depending on your need and situation. For example, ngayong pandemic, you may also consider having an emergency fund equivalent to 1 year of your essential expenses. Now, here are other situations where you may consider increasing your emergency fund. If, let's say, your income isn't steady, freelancer ka, hindi ka sure kung magkakaroon ka ng next project, you may consider expanding or increasing your emergency fund. If there's a high chance that the industry you work in will have layoffs. So for example, during this pandemic, like airline companies, if you work in this industry, then you may want to consider increasing your emergency fund. Another scenario you may want to expand your emergency fund would be during a recession. So dahil pag recession, nagko-contract yung economy, and there's a higher chance that there will be more unemployment. So that being said, if your job isn't secure, then kailangan natin magtabi ng pera. And last but definitely not the least, if you are retired and most of your money is placed in volatile investments, madami kang naging savings, pero let's say nilagay mo yung savings mo sa mga stocks, sa mga bonds, but since you're retired, you don't have additional income coming in, then you may want to secure na meron kang liquidity just in case may mangyari. In case magkaroon ka ng urgent medical expenses or kailangan mo bayaran ng certain bills. Tip number 2. Determine your budget pie and stick to it. Budgeting is similar to eating cake. The cake is your income. Whether kakainin mo na siya kaagad or you're gonna save it for later is your decision. Here are some suggestions from financial gurus as to how you can cut your cake. 50-30-20 budget rule by Elizabeth Warren. This states that from your income, 50% will be allocated to your needs or to your essentials, 30% to your wants, yung mga pang-shopping mo, mga pang-salon mo, and 20% will be allocated to your financial goals. So this is money set aside for, let's say, if you want to buy a car or to have a house in the future. Also, this already includes your savings and also if you have any debt payments. Now, from this rule of thumb, nagkaroon ng mga spin-off, such as the following. 70-20-10 rule. This states that 70% of your income will be allocated to your living expenses, and then 20% naman ang allocated para sa debt payments mo. The remaining 10% will be allocated to your savings. Now, for those naman na hindi masyadong gusto na lahat ng details ng expenses nila minomonitor, this 80-20 rule is actually best for you. This states that 20% of your income would be saved and the rest you can spend. Of course, we don't have to limit ourselves with the recommended budget pies. You can actually create your own pies. Ikaw na mag-determine kung anong portion ng income mo yung gusto mo i-save at ano yung portion ng income mo na gusto mo i-spend. What's important is that you are comfortable with that pie and it suits you. Just make sure that you not only allocate for your expenses but also meron ka ring na itatabi as savings. Tip number 3. Be mindful of your expenses and track them. As I said earlier, hindi masama gumastos. Ang importante, meron tayong savings and hindi naman tayo gumagastos more than what we earn. If, let's say, you have a financial goal or you want to increase your savings, one way to do that is to decrease your expenses. Monitor your expenses. Know how much you spend for each good or service that you buy. You can do this by manually jotting down your expenses, having a tracker via Excel, or using expense tracker apps like Money Manager, Just Expenses, or Spending Tracker. Once you know your expenses, determine which expense would fall into the following categories. Mandatory, mga kailangan bilhin at kailangan bayaran. Nice to have, mga hindi kailangan pero gusto natin, kumbaga yung ating mga wants or our heart's desires. Useless, mga hindi na dapat pinagastusan pero ginastusan pa rin. By categorizing your expenses, it would be easier to determine kung aling gastusin yung pwedeng i-eliminate or bawasan para sa kinabubuti ng ating kinabukasan. Tip number 4. Make it a habit to manage your finances. Handling one's finances is a continuous thing. Hindi pwedeng ngayon iisipin mo, paplanuhin, i-execute, tapos after a few weeks, kakalimutan na. Parang muscles lang yan. If you don't use them, you lose them. Having healthy finances is a way of life, not a one-time thing. If you want to have a hefty wallet, you've got to stay committed to your finances. Here are some suggestions just in case tinatamad ka. Set up a system where your savings are automatically deducted from your payroll. Explore yung ADA function ng mga mobile apps natin. Make an appointment with yourself to review your finances. You can start with having monthly meetings with yourself, for example, to allot time to look at your inflows and outflows of cash and to see how near or far you are from reaching your financial goals. Call a friend. Find a money buddy. Find someone you can trust and discuss money matters with. Someone who can cheer you on as you work for your financial goals, and someone who will pressure you just in case you need it. Also, someone who can celebrate finance victories with you. Tip number 5. Get rid of your credit card outstanding balance. In the Philippines, interest from outstanding balances of credit cards is 2% per month or 24% per year. Simply put, ibig sabihin nito, if you don't pay off your credit cards, you're actually paying 24% more than what you initially spent on. Yes, there are situations na kailangan talaga mag-swipe ng card kasi may emergencies or talagang kinulang lang yung pera mo. But if you could, get rid of your credit card outstanding balances as soon as you can, kasi this may hinder you from increasing your savings or reaching your financial goals. Tip number 6. Make allotments for insurance. Insurance is important, especially if you have dependents. Just in case something happens to you, at least they will still be able to maintain the life you've set out for them. However, there is such a thing as being overinsured. Ideally, insurance premiums should only be 10 to 15% of your gross income. Yes, we want to make sure bilang financial advisors that our clients are protected, that our customers can reach their goals. Pero alongside that, ayaw naman rin natin na maghirap sila dahil sa pagbabayad ng premiums. What we want is to help them get started on their dreams and to have peace of mind. Tip number 7. Invest. While it's important to have cash with you and to have an emergency fund, there is a downside rin kung puro nasa savings account mo lang yung pera mo. Kasi sa time deposit, ang interest lang yan ay 1.25% per year. Wala masyadong increase. Over time, nagmamahal ang mga presyo ng goods and services. This is also known as inflation. To beat this, we need to allocate some of our savings to some investment vehicles that will grow faster than inflation. So if you want more investment tips, you can refer to our previous LGB episodes. Tip number 8. Find other sources of income. So let's say you've trimmed down your expenses, pero para sa'yo, kulang pa rin yung savings na naitatabi mo. Another way to boost that is to increase your sources of income. Look within yourself. What skills do you have? Creative skills, analytical skills, public speaking skills. Utilize what you have and find ways to monetize them. If let's say you're good at teaching, you may want to consider offering tutorial services. If you feel you need to up your game and increase your knowledge or skill, make use of all the trainings available to you. Sa panahon ngayon, ang daming tutorial videos na libre, kahit sa YouTube, for example. Also, for AXA-related products, well, DL&D has multiple trainings for you. Kasama na dito ang LGP. So ayan, with these 8 tips, you'll be on your way to having healthy finances. But wait, there's more. Baka naman kasi sabihin nyo na pinagsasabi ko lang tong mga to. Let's hear it straight from our channel reps as to how they manage their income and expenses.
So how do I manage my income and expenses? Well, I normally start with a goal, be it a long-term goal or a short-term goal. Then from there, whenever I want to buy something, I ask myself the question, is it a need or a want? And whether I can afford it and is it aligned with my goal, then I will buy it. Right? Ano yung hindi ko pala nagawin ito? Siyempre. Pare, usapang income and expenses. How about you? What's your secret?
Secret in terms of my income. Of course, Danny, alam naman natin. In terms of online websites, diba, kaniwat ka na yan? And I always think before I add to cart.
Oh!
Yan naman ang importante sa atin, diba? Let's avoid unnecessary expenses.
And expenses?
And when it comes to expenses, syempre, in terms of our credit card bills, dapat we pay in full to avoid unnecessary interest.
And on top of that, remember the financial formula. Your income
minus your fixed savings
equals your allowable expenses. Alright? So there you go.
Add to cart.
Hi, my name is Happy Culinares from Metrobank Channel Business Management Team. So what are my tips in managing your income and your expenses? First is know your priorities, so that when you receive your income, you can already set aside the money for those priorities. In my case, my priorities are to be able timely for my home loan and to pay for my insurance premium. And I do not only pay them on time, but I make sure that I have reserve of at least 3 months to pay for my priorities. Second is know your expenses really well, because it's only by knowing your expenses that you can make some necessary adjustments. Like me, during the pandemic, I saw, using my budget and expenses, that we are exceeding usually when we buy groceries. So now, whenever I go to the grocery, I make sure that I have my list and I stick to that list so that I also stick to my budget. And lastly, be very wise in using your credit card. Make sure that you control your credit card usage and do not let your credit card control you. Ako, I use my credit card really heavily because it helps me manage my expenses by auto-charging my monthly bills to my card. I also like the freebies and the points that I get by using my credit card, but I don't pay interest on them because I always make sure that I pay them on time. So those are my tips. Thank you.
So how do I manage my finances? Every start of the year, I actually have a target amount in mind already with how much I want to save. So monthly, I would list down my expected expenses. I would allow myself an allowance with, some shopping or used to be traveling or socializing. And whatever's left would go to savings. As a tool, I have a personal Excel file that I would update and monitor every week. This also helps me to make sure I pay my bills on time. Every year or two, I looked at a portion of that savings and would put into a form of investment or an insurance or at one point real estate. So hope that helps.
If our leaders walk the talk, all the more as distributors, we have to embody what we teach to our customers. Take a look at your finances today, apply the tips that I've mentioned, and see for yourself the difference between having a bahala na mindset versus careful planning. Share these tidbits as well to your customers. After all, you are their financial advisors. They trust you to give them sound financial advice. Before we close, let's go to our MLC Corner.
Hi everyone, welcome to MLC Corner where we discuss trivia and FAQs about AXA's latest VUL products. I am David Fernandez, TTSP from DLND. One of my Life Choice's main features is the customizable sum insured. Customers may choose the coverage level, also known as the sum insured multiplier, up to 30 times of the first year basic annual premium that's based on the customer's coverage needs for the same amount of premium. For example, if the client is willing to pay 3,000 pesos per month or 36,000 pesos per year in terms of base premium, the client can choose if his sum insured multiplier will be times 10, that is 36,000 times 10, that will give the client coverage of 360,000 pesos. Or up to times 30, which is 36,000 times 30, that will give the client a coverage of 1,080,000 pesos. If a client needs more protection or coverage, then he may maximize his sum insured multiplier. This means that from his premium payments, more will be allocated to his protection coverage. If the client is more focused on growing his investment than having a high amount of coverage, he may bring down his sum insured multiplier. The lower the sum insured multiplier, the higher amount will be allocated for investments. There are two main considerations that may affect the investment. First one being length of time invested. The longer, the better. And the second one being the amount invested. The bigger amount that you put in, the more capacity your money has to grow. Investing is a lot like planting trees. If you want to have more trees, you have to put in more than one seed. It's very important to know these implications when helping the client decide his sum insured multiplier. Make sure to determine whether his main need is protection or investment so that we can make a proper decision. To know more about MLC, do check out our MLC playlist via LNS. We've got online trainings, videos, and brochures to help you provide solutions for your clients. And that's it for MLC Corner.
And that's it for Wealth Wednesdays. Keep these 8 tips in mind and walk the talk. Your thoughts, opinions, and feedback are important to us. We want to know what you want to know. Please take time to answer our survey so that we may understand how we can help you better. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for AHA Thursdays. Again, this is Tin Militante. Stay safe and have a wealthy Wednesday!
you.